All right, welcome back to the Ad Talk by Adclass podcast. We are on episode 3, and today we are talking about what the heck is going on at Twitter. I am your host, Dakota Hermes, and my co-host, Caleb Cruz, is here. What's up, Caleb?
What's up, guys?
Yeah, we're going to get right into it today. We're talking about all things Twitter, and of course, because this is Ad Talk, we're going to take the approach of what's really going on with advertising at Twitter. And so I'm actually going to take us back a little ways here first to start it off contextually here. I think it's important, that the listeners kind of understand what we do, Caleb, because it's going to play into this podcast quite a bit. So we are digital advertisers, as you guys may or may not know, and we spend a lot of money on social media ads. By a lot of money, I'd say, how much, Caleb, do you think in the past 5 years?
Between the two of us, we're probably approaching 50 million-ish. So
yeah, $50 million of other people's money, spending it on social media ads to generate more money back, right? Yep. And so the name of the game for us has always been like, can we spend $1 on ads to generate more than $1 back, right? And in terms of business, that'd be considered a profit or a return on ad spend. And so for us, we're always looking for platforms that exist out there where you can get a relevant message in front of the right person at the right time. Because usually if you can do that in advertising, people will convert. And so I lay that out there contextually because we've spent most of our money on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google, platforms that people are used to seeing ads on probably. Yep. Maybe a little bit on TikTok now, that's popping up. But apart from that, we've not really touched any other platforms. Specifically, one that we have only just touched the very tip of the iceberg is Twitter ads. Yes. And so that's what we need to talk about today. Why are Twitter ads so bad? Is there a future for it? Is Elon Musk really going to fix it? Or is this all just a big story about nothing?
Yeah, it's a good conversation, man. I think that Twitter is something that personally I don't have a long experience with Twitter. A couple of my close friends and family members have used Twitter for a long time, but it's never been a platform that I spent a ton of time on. But what I will say is as soon as the whole Elon Musk thing started happening, I feel like I started watching a little bit more closely than I was before just because of the controversy, right? And all of the news around it and craziness. And so, I bet you there's a lot of people listening who, probably are in the same boat as me, right? Maybe you didn't have Twitter a while ago. Maybe you do now, or maybe you got off the platform, right? Maybe Elon showed up and you're like, this sucks. I'm leaving. So yeah, there's been a lot of change there, but it's definitely affected the ad space in a big way, and a lot of advertisers are talking about it. So excited to dive in with you, bro.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, for those who don't know, for the uninitiated who are potentially living under a rock, Elon Musk did buy Twitter for a lot of money. I don't remember the number. Maybe Matthew has it somewhere. If you do, Matthew, pop on in. But billions and billions. I think it was somewhere in the maybe 40 billion, something like that. A lot of money, even for a guy like Elon Musk, who is, maybe was one of the richest men in the world.
It was $44 billion.
There you go. 44 billion. So a lot of money. And immediately upon taking over Twitter, Elon he tweets all the time. And he kind of I think he's trying to come out and say I'm showing you everything that there is. I'm being very transparent about all this. Who knows, right? We'll never know. He'll tweet and we just either can believe it or not believe it. But along the way, he's been saying, as soon as he took it over, he realized this is the biggest cash negative company possible. They're just losing money month over month. So immediately he fires a huge percentage of the workforce, right? All of these people who, are basically cashing in on a product that's just losing money. I don't know, right? He just fires them all. So he's left with a bare bones team, to run Twitter. Well, turns out you actually needed most of those people to run Twitter effectively. Even this week on Monday, Twitter just went down like just wasn't running because like somebody tried to fix something in the code and it broke everything, right? And Elon's now describing it as like a Rube Goldberg machine inside of another one, inside of another one, inside of another one. And if you touch one thing, everything explodes basically, right? So all this context just to say he bought the company, realized it was going to lose him a lot of money unless he fired most of the workforce, fires most of the workforce, and then gets to this part of the discussion, which is how the heck does Twitter make money anyways?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is where the other social media platforms come in. Caleb, as you know, social media started as like, you know, just like an app, like the Facebook back in the day. There was no plan to monetize it. And then eventually they start thinking, well, shoot, if we want to make this thing better, we have to make money. How do we make money? Well, there's two options in software. Do you know the two options, Caleb?
You can.
One is advertising.
Yeah, you can either charge people to use your platform or you can put ads on it.
Exactly, right? So how many of you out there would pay to use Facebook every month, right? That's the first question you come to. Well, it's maybe at the beginning you might have, I don't know. But now, like if you're like, hey, Facebook's now $12.99 a month.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, oh man, I might have to get rid of Netflix to get Facebook. You know? And so that's the option though that basically any internet company is faced with. You have two options. You run ads. You basically have ads on your platform so that you can get money from advertisers in order to basically provide the service for free to users, or you charge users to access your platform. Well, right away, Elon goes, hey, guess what, guys? If you want to be verified now on Twitter, that'll be $8 a month. Because immediately his brain goes to, shoot, man, I just bought this company and the ads don't work. No one runs ads on Twitter. So my only other option is to charge my users.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Would you pay for Twitter?
I mean, like I see the appeal to pay for like the blue check or the verification stuff, and I think it's pretty funny that very soon afterwards, Mr. Zach over at Facebook decided to kind of follow suit there as well and kind of announce that whole thing that's happening. But yeah, I mean, like to answer the Facebook question, no, I would not pay for Facebook right now, right? So I think it makes sense that there's ads there because everyone probably feels that way. But yeah, I do think though it's intelligent to charge for more of a premium feature. You know what I mean? So like give it to free to everybody who wants it, and then if you want other cool additional features, awesome, then pay for it. And it's not like they're asking for a lot. I mean, $8 a month. Like if you want the pro features, $8 a month, this should be like a no-brainer in my opinion. So
yeah, and for most people in most softwares, they would agree with you. Spotify is another great example. You can have Spotify with commercials for free, or you can have no commercials and pay premium, right?
Mm-hmm.
The difference here is that being verified on Twitter has meaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like on Instagram and on Facebook. So you get that check mark next to your name and it's like, you're the real deal. You're not an imposter, right? If you're like an author and, you know, it has your name and the blue check mark next to it, now people know you're actually that person, right? And before, the only way to get verified is to go through this convoluted process of like really proving who you are with, you know, identification and having a big following and all this stuff. Elon came in and said, hey, $8 a month and we'll verify you. And I tried it myself. I paid $8 and instantly I had a blue check mark next to my name. And as you can imagine, that caused some problems because right away there's people out there changing their Twitter profile name to things
some
like
sort
Joe
of
Biden,
celebrity.
And putting a blue check mark next to it. You know, so Elon was like, oh, shoot, that might have been a bad idea. Reneged that, you know, now there's two check marks. There's one for being verified and one for if you're paying for Twitter Blue. Well, that's confusing. You know, now I don't know what's real and what's not, right? So long story short, all of this context brings us to this place of this man, Elon Musk, who we know is a pretty decent businessman, right? He's done some big things. Tesla, PayPal, ChatGPT, which we've talked about extensively on this podcast already. He was one of the, you know, beginning members of that as well for OpenAI, which started ChatGPT. So like this man has been in the conversation for pretty much all of the crazy big inventions of our time.
Yeah.
We know that he can run businesses.
Also not to mention he like, just like sends stuff into space and builds
Yeah,
rockets.
just has spaceships also, with SpaceX. So the question then is, can he run a social media company, right? And he takes Twitter over, and so far, he claims that there are more users on the platform, but what we see factually is that there are far fewer advertisers on the platform, which means he's probably still losing money.
Yeah. That's definitely, I think, the case. And I think anytime that you enter what has definitely become a political like thing, advertisers are immediately like, well, I don't know if I want to be hanging out here, because like as soon as you start to basically support or run ads on a platform, especially as a big brand, right? Like looking at bigger brands like, Coca-Cola and all of the other big ones, like those types of companies, Disney, right? Like, well, Disney might not be the best example for me to throw in here, but what I'm trying to get at is,
you live in Florida now. We're starting to see that.
That's a whole other political thing. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is that when you put your dollars on a platform and you have a big brand like that, it kind of also can be a signal of like where you stand. And so a lot of times advertisers are just like, I'm not going to be a part of that. I'm just going to pull out, right? Yep. And so I think that's what we've seen happening at Twitter. So
yeah, right away there was a lot of companies taking their ad spend off of Twitter, which brings me sort of to the next point, which is Twitter ads in general. So if you're a Twitter user out there, you probably have noticed a difference in the ads within the last few months. And we open this up by saying, like, we run a lot of social media ads and we never run Twitter ads. And there's a reason for that. Like, if you've ever been on Twitter pre-Elon Musk, you'll know that like an ad pops up every little bit, you'll be scrolling through and it'll be something that's totally irrelevant. Like has nothing to do with anything, usually clickbait, usually like some weird lead generation campaign that has nothing to do with what you're reading, just kind of jarring. Even sometimes it would be like those weird sort of like display ads of like somebody popping like a pimple on their face. You've seen like weird stuff like that at the end of news articles. That's the kind of stuff that would pop up on my Twitter feed before Elon Musk, as far as advertising. It was either that or like really big brand campaigns for like, Coca-Cola, or maybe, a blockbuster movie that's coming out pretty soon or something like that. But for the most part, they were irrelevant, not really contextual, like really difficult to make a profit with that type of ad. And the reason for that is because ultimately the level of sophistication of your ad platform, like your tracking ability, the way that you can put ads in front of people, is going to directly correlate to how much money people will spend on your platform. So if you guys remember Facebook ads at the very beginning, everybody was going crazy for Facebook ads because Mark Zuckerberg understood that if he could make the best ad platform possible, he would get all of the market share of what people are willing to spend on the internet. And he did that. In 2016, peak Facebook ads, like you could sell anything on Facebook ads because you could target people so granularly and put something so relevant in front of them that they actually wanted to buy, and they clicked it and bought it. Twitter has never had that ability.
No.
And
and it's just it's always made it super weak, right? Which is why we don't advertise there. So it's like
it's the same as like Pinterest. We've never really run Pinterest ads either, and it's kind of the same reason why. It's like you just don't have the options that you need to be successful as an advertiser.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Also with that said, Pinterest is very, very much so more geared towards like e-com, like, Shopify store type stuff, right? Which isn't normally the world that we typically live in. But yeah, man.
So in terms of the targeting and stuff, like think of it this way, right? For those who haven't run ads out there, let's just say we're selling, a ball cap, right? Like a dad hat. Let's just say we're selling a dad hat. If I wanted to sell my dad hat on Twitter, I wouldn't have really like relevant interests that I could target. There's probably not an interest for like hats, like I'm just making something up right now. But if I go to Facebook and I type in, dad hat, there might be an interest for that. Or if there's not, and I had a list of customers that, that have bought dad hats from me, I could just upload that into Facebook and tell it to find people like that.
Or similar
Those
brands
sorts of
too, right?
things,
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, you could put in like I don't know, Adidas,
yeah,
and then hats, and then target them, right?
right.
Twitter just hasn't had that ability up until pretty recently.
Yeah.
And so that brings us to the next point.
Yeah, yeah. So, again, like I said, I'm still kind of like, I'd say a Twitter noob. But I know, Dakota, you've kind of been diving deeper into Twitter more recently, and you've sent me screenshots late in the night of things that are actually popping up that are actually relevant to you. So it's pretty cool to see. I mean, we typically live, very much so in the coaching, consulting, like that sort of world, and it's been interesting to see that those sorts of ads are starting to pop up more and more on Twitter, and more people are talking about them. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yes. So if you've been on Twitter recently, like I've been clicking into different things in the feed. One thing I'll say is like before, no ads were ever relevant to me. Now I click on maybe like a tweet, and then I'll scroll down a little bit on the replies, and I'll see an ad pop up that's like very relevant to me. Maybe it's something I've been looking at, recently, or maybe it's something that's sort of like in the same vein as what I usually look at online. So for us, we run a lot of ads for coaching offers. I keep getting the same ads now for different coaching offers that are competitors of ours. I'm like, okay, so they're definitely starting to understand who I am as a buyer. They're definitely starting to piece together some persona information about me. The only problem is they're about 8 years too late, And the question is, can they catch up now, right?
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
Caleb, I guess let's take the team, or let's take the podcast into like our team conversations a little bit.
Yeah.
Are we running any ads on Twitter? Are we talking about running ads there?
Yeah. So we basically are like always trying to be like on top of the next trends and the next things, right? So of course we see the changes that Elon has been talking about. We also see a buzz in the advertising and marketer community online. Like people are talking about the changes that are happening, and other people are seeing more relevant ads pop up. So of course, our first thing was, well, hey, let's go on and test Twitter ads again, because it's been a few months, right? We haven't tried to test it in a few months. So let's go ahead and get some launched. And so I think we're about like for one of our clients, we're about $5,000 in like on it so far for Twitter in our test. And so far, nothing magical has happened yet.
Nothing magical. In fact, our head media buyer said, "quote The leads are trash." so I'm not sure what that says for the future, but not great so far.
Yeah, not great so far. I think it makes sense to probably continue low spend there and just kind of monitor things that are happening. One of the things that we noticed is that we're getting pretty cheap clicks there in comparison to other platforms. But what's been happening after the click is that they're not converting as well. And so that kind of speaks to what you were talking about a little bit ago, which is that, the intent behind behind the targeting in Twitter just isn't as strong yet. But the fact that the clicks are a little bit cheaper, and maybe that starts to get a little bit better and better as more people kind of start to test it. And so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, your ad platform is only as good as the data it has access to, right? And so, if you're really thinking about this, so here's a quote from Elon that he recently said a couple of weeks back. He said, "quote The advertising relevance is the most gigantic thing." And this is going to sound totally bizarre, but Twitter did not consider relevance in advertising until 3 months ago. He said, Twitter's got, quote, a shot at being cash flow positive in the next quarter, which would be, new for them. And going forward, he says, Twitter will have very relevant and useful advertising. And because it's useful, because it's relevant, there will be a massive increase in revenue because it's now useful. So I'm very optimistic about the future. It's been a very difficult 4 months, but I'm optimistic about the future. So he's even like openly admitting ads have been trash up to now on Twitter, but we're making changes to make them more relevant to the users who are on the platform. And so he has also tweeted in the past about something that I think would be really cool, which is ads that are relevant toward the actual thread that they're in. So imagine for a second, like let's stay on Disney for a second, right? If somebody tweeted, hey, I just, here's the best 5 hotels at Disney, right? For example, Disney then could like basically say, hey, if a tweet includes hotels at Disney, serve my ad in the replies. Right. And so that's kind of the direction he wants to take it, where the ads are very relevant to the actual subject matter that's being talked about.
Yeah.
And if that could happen, that's actually something that like Google can't do super well. Facebook doesn't do that. That's something that could actually take Twitter to the next level, in my opinion.
That would be huge, bro. Yeah, because that's something that is definitely not happening. I mean, it's the closest thing I can kind of think to that exists right now is probably like in-stream YouTube ads. Like when you're like, okay, hey, you're watching a video on, you know, I don't know, like Lamborghini car that you like or whatever, and then you get an ad for the Lamborghini like right afterwards or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's almost like keyword targeting, but it's actually like conversational keywords, which is kind of cool.
Yes. Yeah. Which is, I don't think anybody else is really doing that right now, which would be very, very cool. And I think what would be neat is I'm sure they're using probably some sort of AI tools in the back end to start analyzing threads to decide automatically what subject matter is, right? Like that would be huge, right? If you're like
I could see some big issues there too, though.
Yeah.
Like think about my Disney example really quick. What if the tweet was, man, I hate Disney hotels, just had the worst experience at one, I'll never stay there again. And then in the replies, it's Disney advertising their hotels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like contextual keywords can only work if you also can kind of get the emotion behind them.
Yes.
Right. So AI would be super important, I think, in that.
I think so too. Yeah, that's actually really interesting to think about. I wonder if that would still perform, to be honest with you. Like if you had that ad still pop up in like a negative thread, like would someone still maybe click? Like probably not, to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't know. That's really interesting. I think I hadn't read about that yet, man. So like I hope that happens, because that would really, I think, open up a new door that advertisers just don't have right now, which is kind of cool. So
and I think it would also feel less intrusive to people who are getting served ads, right? One of the biggest issues that we haven't really talked about on this pod is like privacy and advertising and tracking, right?
Yeah.
And so usually the issue right now that people talk about is like, I feel like I'm being followed. Why does my phone know what I want? All this stuff.
Yeah.
But
it's listening to me.
It's listening to me, right? And so like if you're just scrolling through Twitter and you keep seeing ads for like, you know, a bike that you were thinking about buying, you might think, how the heck do they know I'm thinking about buying that bike? But if you're reading a tweet about that bike, you know, and the ad there within that tweet thread is about that bike, you're not going to think, well, how did they know I'm thinking about that bike? You're going to think, oh, that's really relevant ad. I might click that and see how much it costs, right?
It's very natural.
It feels very much less like
intrusive.
Intrusive. Yeah. Like it's actually like contextual and makes sense, you know?
Yeah. Totally agree,
cool.
dude. Yeah, that would be really cool. I hope that happens, man. In short, I think we definitely keep testing. You know, I don't think we just pull off completely, but I think we keep some low budgets there to just kind of see what's working and hope that the algorithm starts learning quicker and quicker. But in the short time that we've seen these advertising changes announced, we're already seeing a difference on the platform. And so it just boils down to your question is it too late? Are they too late, or can they end up, you know, keeping up the pace and moving quickly? So we'll see.
Yeah. And also we're quickly approaching another presidential election in the United States. And how the heck are they going to handle that? Because as we've seen in the past, new advertising platforms, not saying that Twitter's new, but it has a new ownership and it's going to have a new way of running ads. We've seen that explode for things like Facebook in the past.
Yes.
And get regulated very hard after that terrible fallout happens.
Yeah.
And I just have a little bit of a feeling that this next presidential cycle is going to be like the Wild West on Twitter ads.
I think that you're exactly right, bro. I think you're exactly right, because I mean, we talked about it already, but him just taking over in the first place, it felt very like a political move. There's a lot of like accounts that he's restored that a lot of people are like not super happy about. And I think, yeah, dude, I think as we move into the political season, like I feel like if I was like a fly on the wall in like the inner circles of like Elon's friend group, I feel like I would be hearing conversations about like, hey, so like how are we gonna like, you know, try to move this in the way that we want, right? Like that has to be a thing people are saying in his friend group, right? But
yeah, and unfortunately for half of the country, we know who his friend group is because he there's pictures of him at the World Cup next to the owner of Fox News. There's pictures of him next to, Jared Kushner, not his name, Matthew will know. He's definitely got an in with one specific side right now. And so let's just say that it will be the Wild West on Twitter ads, and hopefully he has a little bit of sense on hey, I actually want people to spend money on my platform, so I'm going to try to make this fair for everyone, legitimate free speech here, right?
That's what we can hope for, but we'll see. It's Wild West is a very good way to describe what I think is going to happen. It's going to be
it's especially fun being a non-voting member of the community of the country.
You just get to watch.
And I just get to watch, but it still has huge ramifications on my life. And
True. You do live here.
I live here, yeah. And 1776, what was it all about? Taxation without representation. Now, if Elon can switch that around, now I'm interested. But I'll hold my breath on that.
All right, Matthew, thanks for chiming in, because I know that you're going to take us into our next segment here.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we've got a couple videos I wanted you guys to check out. Some of them are just a bit more on what people are experiencing by running ads on Twitter. A couple of them are just general queries about what the future of Twitter advertising or Twitter itself looks like. So
all right, let's see.
Let's go to it.
I'm excited.
I spent $57,000 on Twitter ads, and now I think I'm the only human on the planet who knows how to do them. You need to augment it with DMs and content marketing, and I mean threads and videos on your Twitter profile. It does not work like direct response ads, like YouTube ads or Facebook ads. And it needs to be augmented with content marketing. You need to build a brand simultaneously with it.
That's interesting. That sounds like a lot of work. So not only do you have to run ads, but you also have to build a brand on Twitter.
Yeah.
Is that what he's saying?
Yeah. It was just it's what a lot of people also were saying about TikTok too, right? At the very beginning, it was you gotta be building your TikTok profile and running ads. But yeah, I mean, that guy was fired up. He was passionate about what he was saying.
I mean, if he spent $57,000, he's obviously made it work, hopefully. For the uninitiated at the end there, he said direct response marketing. That basically just means marketing that elicits a direct call to action, like a purchase or a registration or something like that. That's what we do at Adclass. And so that's kind of, he's it does not work for direct response marketing. I agree, man. That's why we're not spending on Twitter. That's the entire reason that we went down that rabbit hole. But it's interesting. He said kind of you have to make it into content marketing. I feel like that probably means that people go to your profile after seeing an ad from you on Twitter more often than not, maybe, and try to see is this person legit or not. I'm assuming that's what he's meaning by that.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I mean, I think, what he said about the thread part, that makes sense. I think we just kind of talked a little bit about that, but I think a lot of people, they've been posting these threads where you basically read through the whole thread and you get all of this amazing knowledge. Right. And I think a lot of experts in different fields and niches, they've been kind of posting these threads with these knowledge bombs, and it's kind of people's way of being oh, this person's legit, I trust this person now. So I think that's what he's saying. But the piece to that, at least for me, that if I'm thinking okay, I'm going to take this guy's advice right now, it's that I have a baby Twitter profile with no followers because I just haven't paid attention there. So it's well, if I could post all the content I want, but if it's going to take me months to get a following that people respect, like you said, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
We're talking about organic marketing now and not paid advertising.
Right. Exactly. That's
game.
exactly right. It's exactly right.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right. Next one.
You enjoy Twitter, a social media platform where complicated issues are talked about with a 280-character limit ruled by unchecked agenda of celebrities and billionaires? Then check out the new Twitter, now owned by one of them, with upcoming let's call them improvements. We'll get rid of all accounts that are obviously fake bots. And nobody hates bots more than our new owner. We'll welcome new users who have never used Twitter before.
The Trump
And
mustache.
modeled after our new owner's other company, introducing the Twitter Autopilot, where you don't have to pay any attention to facts or evidence. Not that you did before. Your biased and uninformed claims will be created and tweeted out for you while you sleep. And for $20 a month. What? That's too much. Oh, okay. For just $8 a month, we'll verify that, you have $8. And place this mildly attractive checkbox next to your handle so everyone knows that you're too a part of the entitled social media elite. Download the new Twitter app and cancel someone you disagree with today. Do you enjoy Twitter as a social media platform?
Oh
There's a
man,
lot to break down there. A
that
lot to
was.
break down.
I wonder. But tell us how you really feel.
Right, exactly. That's funny. I like the part where it's like pay us $8 and we'll verify that you have $8. Put a blue check mark next to the name.
They made it
That's
seem
exactly
like
what
it's
happened.
just so nothing, right? Like, which it is, dude. I mean, like $8 a month, like that should be something that basically anybody can afford, right? It's cheaper than like any streaming service that's out there.
He also said at one point that if you pay that premium tier, there will be no ads for you on Twitter too. So that is kind of a nice added benefit. I don't agree that you should be like a verified profile for having paid $8, but I do think that like an ad-free experience would probably be, pretty worth $8 for most people.
I mean, how many apps on our phone, where you just like pay either a very small subscription fee or like a one-time thing where it's like get rid of banners. Like I just noticed AccuWeather, just like in a recent update, they now need like a premium version to like reduce banners and give you beyond 3 days of like the hourly weather. It's like,
it's all paywalls, man.
All paywalls.
Yeah. Well, I will say YouTube Premium, best purchase I've ever made. Like in terms
I was just
of
about to say that's YouTube Premium's whole thing is just no ads. Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's not just no ads, but that's the primary thing. The other side, like you can like download videos, watch them offline. And the biggest one for me is like you can get out of the YouTube app on your phone and the video will continue playing in the background. So like if you're listening to a song or something,
like in the car and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. But again, it's like Twitter is basically just saying, we'll put a blue check mark next to your name and there'll be no ads. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the take rate is on that. I'd be very curious to see how many people are paying for that actually.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. But that was pretty funny. I think my favorite part of the whole thing was like, and we'll reinstate accounts, and it just shows Trump with like a mustache.
Donnie T, it said. Donnie T was reinstated. That's funny. He's got his own.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how transparent Elon makes those kind of things, because obviously he's like one of his big reasons he claims behind buying Twitter was to make it like a free speech bastion kind of thing. So how free speech is he going to get if the numbers aren't going to make him look good?
Well, they had that. There was some controversy there already, right? Because basically he bought it saying no more censorship, right? And they went through the whole like Twitter files, and it turns out, well, hey, actually both the Republicans and the Democrats were asking Twitter to censor things over the last couple of years. Imagine that.
Yep.
And then it goes down like to the there's like a one Twitter profile who for the last few years has just been tracking where Elon's jet goes. The Twitter or like Elon tracker or whatever, because flight records are public records, and just pulling them and tweeting them. Yeah. And the reason for that is because like private jets obviously use a lot of gas and a lot of resources and whatever. So, it's got an agenda, but it's tracking it. Well, Elon bans that profile, saying it's a violation of his privacy.
Yeah.
And then you think, well, that's interesting because these are public records and no one is trying to like dox you. Like no one's trying to like come after you because of this. It's just something that's been on there, but that's a violation of free speech now, right? So it's like it is, okay if it's not relating directly to him, but if it is relating directly to him, it's not okay, right? It's just funny, man, because when you own the thing, it starts becoming a little bit more complicated than you originally intended it to be.
Oh, for sure. I think for me though too, I mean like 100% definitely complicated is the best word to throw out there. But like with how many eyeballs are on him, like, that like I don't know. I mean, like, obviously, I guess you'd have to rely on airport security, but I feel like, there would be some freaking weirdos that are like chasing him down, trying to be like,
Oh, for sure. I think there
like,
was one specifically that like was outside of his car or something like that.
right. And so like, then it's like,
Turns out it's just one of his kids, but whatever.
He didn't recognize them.
I mean, he's got like 100 of them, so
different story.
how many does he have? How many kids does he have? Does anyone know?
Oh, no,
Matthew,
but apparently he lives at Twitter HQ, so I'm not sure if the kids also live there. I'm not, who knows?
I mean, yeah.
He has 10 kids.
Wow, that was more than I was gonna guess. I was gonna say like 6 or 7.
Were they all with the same person, same wife, or no?
They were not.
No.
Yeah.
What a shocker.
Yeah. I don't know anything about Elon's personal life. All right, on to the next react.
Well, one thing that won't be leaving Twitter is cognitive dissonance. Anyway, on to the next one.
Twitter ads is probably not the platform that you think about when it comes to digital marketing. However, it is still one of the most popular social media channels since it launched in 2006. Twitter is probably best known for its ability to engage with influencers and celebrities, or many people get their breaking news from that platform. There are 3 reasons why Twitter ads might be a good advertising platform for you. First, Twitter ads has a very high click-through rate. It's typically around 1 to 2%. And in comparison, Facebook has a click-through rate of around 0.8, 0.9%. The second reason is that there's limited competition. I mean, as you guys know, Twitter ads is not the platform that everybody is using. It's not in the same ballpark as a Google or Facebook ads. The third reason why Twitter ads might be a good advertising platform for you is because there's no minimum ad spend, and the click-through rate and the CPCs for Twitter are very, very low. Typically, what we see on Twitter is about a 30 to 40 cent CPC, and in comparison, Google's average CPC is somewhere around $1.40. Trying to determine if Twitter ads is a good platform for you, one thing to consider when deciding if Twitter ads is right for you is understanding the audience profile. And Twitter skews heavily towards males. Actually, about 70% of its users are males. So if you have a product or a business or service that is looking to reach the male audience, Twitter ads might be a good platform for you to.
I was so distracted by those sound effects.
That was so aggressive.
That was
very aggressive.
Yeah.
And he said the same thing twice, but good points.
Point 1 and point 3 were the exact same.
I mean, yeah, high click-through rate was 0.1, and then 0.3 was low cost per click. Those are the same thing. But no, that's true, man. Like limited competition, high click-through rates. I mean, if you can get your offer in front of the right people, it's got all of the things that you would potentially need to make an offer really work well.
Right.
Which is time will tell.
Yeah, which is everything we pointed to in this discussion, right? It's that like there's a lot of potential, and if that algorithm can get dialed in, like it could end up being like a lot of people could get really, really like successful with their companies off of running Twitter ads. It's just going to take that algorithm clicking, and that's why I think we should keep testing. You know what I mean? We should keep on testing different stuff there, because I think it's going to click here soon, is my prediction. And
the last piece there that he said too is like the demographic is important, and I think that's the other thing too. There's just certain offers that would not work on Twitter because 70% male largely skews like, male and probably younger, the type of people who are just on there talking about crypto all day and whatever else, right? Like, yeah. So I'm sure there's offers that will work and won't work, but yeah, I mean, it could be huge.
Could be lots of potential. So. Anything else, Matthew? Is that the last one?
We have one more.
Oh, we have one more.
Elon actually had a dispute on Twitter with one of the people that works at some massive advertising firm. His name is Lou Pascalis. He works with Formula One racing and does a metric ton of very high-profile consulting work and works with advertising firms that work with a lot of major corporations. Basically, let's see if I can find the tweet here. Lou Pascalis says, Elon, great chat yesterday. As you heard overwhelmingly from your senior advisors on the call, the issue concerning all of us is content moderation and its impact on, and in all caps, brand safety and suitability. You say you're committed to moderation, but you just laid off 75% of the moderation team. So then Elon Musk blocked him. And that was one of the big advertisers right there, or at least a very influential one. So they're having a very fun, high-profile public dispute, which kind of scares other advertisers. And his big concern is on that safety and suitability and that sort of reliability, because that's what Twitter currently provides to advertisers. That is its biggest selling point right now, is that Twitter is very safe, it is very clean, it is very wholesome. If you advertise there, it is very unlikely that your ads will show up on something unseemly. So in response to this, Elon replies to another person requesting that he put out the names of advertisers that are dropping out. And then Elon says, let's see if I can find that article. Elon plans to go thermonuclear to name and shame all advertisers backing out of Twitter, which if you're an advertiser and you've got millions or billions to spend, it's probably not a good look when the head of the platform is threatening to publicly name and shame you and cause chaos in your company because you didn't give them money. So that's really rough. And he says a lot of it has to do with them hating free speech. No, a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're not going to spend money on anything that's not basically rated PG. So in this aspect, I believe that Elon does not understand who the customer really is. The customer of Twitter is not us, the user. We are the products. If you are on Twitter using it, it works like every other social media company. It gathers information about you and delivers ads. You are the product. The customer is the advertisers. The advertisers are going to be the ones that give the money to buy access to you. So we've kind of got it in a little bit of a reverse here. And all of these things are going to scare advertisers away, which will cause it to make
Dang.
money.
So to break that down really quick, there's two categories, right, of advertisers. There's us and the small guys out here who are direct response advertisers, where brand safety is not our primary concern, but creating revenue on ad spend is our primary concern. Obviously, we want to do it in an ethical, moral, correct way, but like ultimately what we care about is, does the platform work? Right. Elon is definitely making changes to help people like us. Then there's the other side of things, which this guy's talking about, which is where most of the revenue for these companies is generated, right? Like, let's be real, giant companies make the world go round, not the little guys. Yeah. Those are the people who are upset with Elon's decisions because the platform may or may not be getting less PG, basically. There's a whole lot of stuff that might be unseemly on the platform, and those advertisers don't want to have their brand names associated with it.
Yep.
Simple as that.
That's exactly right. I don't even have anything to add there. I mean, that's basically exactly it. So,
yeah. But that's the crazy part though, is like the Coca-Colas, the Johnsons and Johnsons, the whatever, like it's got to be 95% of ad revenue. You know what I mean? Like, even if I spend $40 million in a year, I'm not competing with the ad budget of State Farm. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy difference.
It is. Yeah, it's so true. So, yeah. So that's such an important thing to think about. I mean, it's a lot of the attention now and focus is trying to appease people like us, but like, I don't know if that's going to be able to keep the Twitter afloat. You know what I mean? Like, sure, we might be able to get people to convert on direct response stuff in the future, but will United Airlines come back? Like, who knows? So,
dude, so true. Guess we'll find out next quarter.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it? The quote, we've got a shot at being cash flow positive.
We've got a shot at being profitable.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be huge if he made the company profitable. That would make headlines for sure. The stock will go up, and who knows what could happen.
Yep.
But all right, that's been our show, episode 3 of the Ad Talk by Adclass podcast, talking all about Twitter ads. Quick reminder before you hop off of this, we do have a brand spanking new, actually it's about a year old now, Facebook group that is located at facebook.com/freeadclass. And if you're ever interested in getting into advertising, figuring out if it's for you, if you want to learn how to make some side cash, how to maybe become an advertiser, it's changed our lives for the better. So we've put, a free group together where we just teach a whole bunch of stuff about advertising. We'd love to have you in there. Totally free, nothing, no strings attached. Just a fun place to hang out and learn about ads.
Come hang out with us.
Please. All right, guys. That's been our show. Appreciate you guys.
Peace out.